Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. My name is Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today is our culture unit for the month of October. And we're going to Korea. And we're going to talk about something called Talchum. Please forgive me if I did not pronounce that correctly to the people of the Korean persuasion who might be listening to our program. But that's a kind of mask dance that we're going to be talking about today. It's actually quite old.
Yeah, they've got a lot of very traditional dances and music and outfits, costumes, you could say. So we're going to be experiencing some of Korea's culture by looking at this mask dance, Talchum. But first, guys, we're going to read through today's lesson.
Have you ever wondered about the colorful and expressive masks you've seen in photos of Korean festivals? Let us introduce you to the fascinating world of Talchum, Korea's traditional mask dance. This lively art form blends storytelling, music, and dance, offering a glimpse into Korean history and culture. Originating in the Three Kingdoms period, Talchum was initially a simple ritual for establishing a connection with the gods. Performers wore elaborately designed masks crafted from wood or paper as they danced to the rhythm of traditional percussion instruments and conveyed their wishes to the gods. Over time, Talchum evolved into a social satire during the Joseon era. Hidden behind their masks, performers were free to express opinions on social issues. In this way, Talchum mirrored the common people's resentment toward the upper classes and Korea's social system. The contemporary mask dance preserves its satirical components. The masks represent various characters, such as nobles, scholars, and ordinary people, each with unique facial expressions and personalities. A diverse range of themes feature in the performances, including criticism of monks who neglect their principles and the conflict between a married couple. Through humor and exaggerated movements, Talchum delivers powerful messages that resonate with audiences of all ages. Talchum has been passed down through generations and is still widely enjoyed today. So, if you visit Korea, why not enjoy this beautiful aspect of the culture? Don't just stand on the sidelines. Let the rhythmic beats and dynamic movements of Talchum sweep you off your feet. Okay, so the title of today's lesson is Experience Korea's Cultural Riches Through Mask Dance. Riches, of course, are things that are valuable to a person or to a country. So, of course, Korea has lots of traditional aspects or traditional observances, I guess you could say. And one of these is the mask dance called Talchum, which we're going to talk about today. You should experience it. You should check it out. You should see it. It's actually quite cool. Now, have you ever wondered about the colorful and expressive masks you've seen in photos of Korean festivals? Certainly, you've probably seen pictures of Korean festivals, and sometimes they do show photos of this particular tradition, Talchum, and of course, they'll be wearing these expressive masks. They're not very similar to the masks of Chinese opera, but they're similar. If they're expressive masks, then they've got a lot of expressions on them. It's happy, sad, disappointed, depressed, whatever.
Yeah, so we're going to be introducing you to the fascinating world of Talchum, Korea's traditional mask dance. I haven't seen it myself. I did get a chance to go to Korea. Wow, it's been like 15 years now. And I didn't see any mask dances, but I did see a lot of their traditional baby doll dresses, I call them, where we have, traditional clothes in the Chinese culture that are very sleek and beautiful. Theirs tends to look like you're dressing up like you're, 3 or 4 years old. But they're very pretty. They cost a lot of money. And I'm sure that you'll see them if you go over there. Have you seen this traditional mask dance live?
No, I haven't, but I have seen some kind of a Korean performance. It was actually here in Taipei many years ago, where they wear a special cap and there's like a tassel on top of the cap, and then they dance and spin that tassel around in circles as they dance. I thought that was quite entertaining. So because that was so entertaining, I'd like to check out this Talchum. I'm sure it's pretty cool to see. And this is a lively art form, and it blends storytelling, music, and dance, offering a glimpse into Korean history and culture. So a lot of performing arts combine different various aspects. This one blends or mixes storytelling, music, and dance together. So you've got storytelling, maybe somebody's narrating it. Of course, you've got music with musical instruments and maybe some drums or things like that. And also it involves dance. The performers will be dancing. And all these things combine together to make Talchum, and this offers a glimpse into Korean history and culture. So a glimpse is just a look at something, usually not for very long. Of course, Korean history is long and very complicated. Lots of things happened on the Korean peninsula, but this will just give you an idea about how things happened or what happened in Korea.
Right. So again, it's glimpse. It's just a quick look. Maybe you're outside and you're on your way to school or to work, and you get a quick glimpse of a friend who's walking on the street across from you. You don't get a good look, but you get a quick glimpse. And so we're just going to take a quick glimpse at this today. And if you get to see this, I'm sure you'll understand more of it after you've had a chance to really really get involved with it or soaked into it. It originated during the Three Kingdoms period. If you originate somewhere, it just means that's where you began. That's where this particular thing was born or created or invented. But it originated in the Three Kingdoms period. And Talchum was initially, or at first, a simple ritual for establishing a connection with the gods. Yeah, if you look this up, they say something about, they have a similar traditional religion that you often hear among native Indians in America, and that's the shamans. These are kind of spiritual leaders. So this is where it first started, and it was a way for them to, I guess, communicate with their gods instead of saying a prayer like we typically do in Christian religions. They would do this, this mask dance to create a connection. So it's kind of cool.
Yep, this came from the Three Kingdoms period, which, according to history, happened about 2,000 years ago. So this is an old art form, but it was originally a ritual for trying to connect with the gods or to communicate with the gods. A ritual, of course, as you said, is something that is performed in religions, but it's also something you might do every day, your daily rituals, for example, getting up, brushing your teeth, having breakfast, waiting for the bus, etc. That's all part of your daily ritual. But this, of course, is a religious ritual, or at least it was. And performers wore elaborately designed masks crafted from wood or paper as they danced to the rhythm of traditional percussion instruments and conveyed their wishes to the gods. So if you're a performer in Talchum, you're going to wear an elaborately designed mask. If something's elaborate, that means it involves lots of details. Like if you go to Chinese temples, for example, they are elaborately decorated. They have elaborate carvings in them. So elaborately here is an adverb. It just means they were designed in an elaborate way.
Yeah, the opposite would probably be a simply designed or a very plainly designed something, whatever you're talking about. So yeah, it's pretty complicated. It's very fancy. It's not very plain or simple. And they're designed, these masks at least, are crafted from wood or paper. And they dance to the rhythm of traditional percussion instruments. Percussion just refers to the group in a symphony or a band that have the drums and maybe the chimes and the bell and the big, what do you call the timpani drum? That's all percussion. So percussion instruments were really important. And when they were doing this dance, they were trying to convey, which means communicate, to convey something to somebody, just means to, send a message along, convey their wishes to the gods. So this is how they indeed communicated at that time. Tom, did you mention that Tal means a mask and Chum means dance?
I did not mention that, but that makes a lot of sense. Mask, dance, Talchum. So indeed, we're talking about where it came from and what it has or what it involves. You've got these elaborately designed masks, and you've got this traditional percussion instruments playing a rhythm. A rhythm is like a beat, Most rock and roll songs have a rhythm or a beat to them. And, of course, when they performed, they were conveying their wishes to the gods. Yes, please let my son pass the exam and get into a good university. Please let us make a lot of money this year or whatever. Those are your wishes that you are conveying or communicating to the gods. And over time, Talchum evolved into a social satire during the Joseon era. So, yes, indeed, this happened over a long period of time, and it changed. And when things change over a long period of time, we use the verb to evolve. We do have the theory of evolution, in which earlier life forms gradually changed over millions of years to become later forms. So here it just evolved. It changed slowly over time. And it became a social satire during the Joseon era. Satire, of course, is when you make fun of things, to make comments on things. You got to be careful about that. There are some examples of it, like caricatures, certain kinds of cartoons might portray political leaders or something like that with really big heads or doing things. That, of course, is legal here in Taiwan, but if you were to do that in other countries, you could get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you've got to be careful based on what leader you're making fun of or mocking, or maybe even another religion that you're mocking. Sometimes that can get you in a lot of trouble. Anyway, it was evolved into a social satire. We also will use this word evolve when maybe you're trying to invent something new, and when you first start out, it's okay, but as time goes on, you keep making little adjustments until finally it evolves into something pretty spectacular. We're going to take a quick break now, guys. Listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天要带大家去韩国来看一个传统文化哦，就是面具舞。这个 mask dance 在韩文叫做 Talchum 我不会讲韩文啦总而言之呢，它就是假面舞的意思。不过我们在文章是设计成综合测验，也就是俗称的克漏字。在大考当中的克漏字通常考个1篇5题，2篇10题。那这个所谓的5题当中呢，通常会有1题会是类似文法题的这种题型。像我们扫一下题目其实在今天的文章当中，第2题有没有看到？第2题就是感觉像是个文法，不知道是要考主被动，还是要考某个动词怎么使用，例如 allow someone to do something， 那个 to do 常就被挖出来，有没有？还是它是一个句子的简化是分词构句呢？好，我们等一下特别针对第2题来看看这个文法。那其他的4题通常都会搭配，比如说类似像第3题一个转成词语的概念。如果你的文章看得懂的话，就会知道大概要选怎么样的一个转成词语，在文意上到底是比如说还是事实上，还是相反的，还是然而，还是随着时间的推移。好，所以其他的选项呢，通常都会配一些单词啦，有可能是动词形容词副词。所以第一个文章要看懂是第一个很重要的事情。好，那当然我们一开始呢，在文章第1段，作者就先用一个问句，他说你有没有看过那种面具呢？在韩国的那种这个文化当中的这种所谓的 masks， 你有没有看过呢？我们今天要来看 Talchum这个所谓的假面舞这件事情。到了第一段的第3句的时候啊，就开始出现了我们今天的第一题哦。那在做课漏字的时候，因为现在已经不是只有考文法，所以要看得懂上下文，在句子当中其实就会有隐含告诉你应该会出现哪一个意思的选项。例如在第一段第3句，我们看到第一题前面是这种很生动的 art form， this lively art form 这种艺术的形式，第一格一个动词，后面就出现说故事啊、音乐啊、舞蹈啊，然后提供了一些韩国的历史啊、韩国的文化。你有没有发现在第一格的前面是比较语义大的词汇 art form， 就是所谓的艺术形式，第一个后面出现比较小的这种字义的概念，比如说说故事啊、音乐啊 blah blah blah。 所以其实第一个这个动词就有包含或者是融合的意思，这种艺术形式里面就融合了这些不同的元素在里面，它有一点大包小的概念，所以第一题选 C blends 是比较合文意的哦。接下来我们看到第二段，第二段呢，首先注意一下第一句，它是一个分词构句。这个分词构句啊，在英文当中啊，也是特别在高中英文当中很重要。我们国中说这个英文句子啊，用连接词拉长，感觉就好像英文很厉害，对不对？到高中颠倒，你要能够言简意赅，长的句子能够变短是最厉害的。所以我们常常在高中英文就会看到关系子句的简化、分词构句，其他都是同一个概念，就是连接词省略，动词变分词的一个概念。所以当我们在例如第二段第一句当中，先把2个动作抓出来，第一个 originate 起源，逗点之后第二个动词 be 动词 was， 这2个动作其实都是在讲逗点之后的主词叫做 Talchum， 也就是假面舞。所以其实它是要讲2件事情，2个句子。 Talchum 起源于3国，逗点，而且 Talchum 它一开始呢，就是一种跟神灵连接联系的一种仪式。那既然都是在讲 Talchum， 就不用连接词吗？我其中一个动作变成动词 ing 不就好了？这就看到我们莫名其妙出现 pp 或 ing 的时候，所谓的分词构句。那你说为什么不要用 pp 啊？因为 Talchum originated in 什么样的 period， 它本来这个动词就不需要被动啊，所以直接把 originated 变成动词 ing 就好了。好，所以在英文当中，连接词的功能，连接2个动词，没有连接词其中一个变动词 ing， 如果是 be ing 再把它删掉，就会剩下 pp 这个概念，就是我们现在复习第二段第一句的分词构句。当然其实同样在第二段的第四句来看看，它是不是突然出现了一个 pp hidden， 被藏在什么东西？被藏在逗点之后的主词 performers 表演者就被藏在这个面具的后面。所以同样的第二段第一句跟第4句就是所谓的分词构句，2个动作连接词省略，其中一个变 ing， be ing 再删掉，剩下 pp， 例如第4句的 hidden。 好，所以接下来我们赶快回到第二题咯。第二题这里的 crafted 为什么要选 A 呢？其实你有没有发现，根据文意的话第二段的第2句它其实是一个关系子句的简化。先行词是 elaborately designed masks，这些很精心设计的面具，先把第2题左括号，逗点这边右括号，它本来根据动作的 craft 应该是被 crafted from wood or paper， 是用什么来做的呢？那是一个被动的概念，所以不管是 which 还是 that， 删掉之后一样句子简化 were 变成 be ing， 再删掉只剩下被动的 crafted。 所以第2题其实考你还是一个句子简化的概念。那当然到了第3题选 C 的原因是因为随着时间的推移，这个要怎么看呢？其实在第2段第3句，也就是第3题这个地方，后面我们看到一个 evolve into， 它发展成为什么样的一种形式，那这个是要靠时间的。所以第3题根据上下文，你把 A、B、C、D 的选项带进去之后，你发现它其实第2段是在讲 Talchum 整个历史文化有一种 chronological 的一个随着时间演变的概念，所以第3题应该是后来啊之后啊就演变成什么样的形态。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about Talchum, which is a traditional mask dance from Korea. And remember, it originated in the Three Kingdoms period. It involves elaborately decorated masks that can be made from wood or from paper. And also, it involves dancing to traditional percussion instruments to a rhythm there. And, of course, at the beginning, it was more religious. It was a religious ritual, so people could communicate with the gods. But eventually, over time, it evolved into a kind of social satire. And this happened during the Joseon era, which was a period of their history in more recent times. And hidden behind their masks, performers were free to express opinions on social issues. So, yes, sometimes, of course, you can get in trouble by expressing your opinion. I don't like the job the president is doing. I think the police are ineffective. This country needs to change its laws. In some countries, that can get you into a lot of trouble, especially if they know who you are. So one way to express your opinions is to wear a mask, and then they won't know who you are, although I suspect they have ways of finding out.
Yeah, we see that even in today's modern era. Sometimes these thugs or thieves or criminals will, of course, try to cover their faces. They don't want the police to see who they are. Well, back then they could get into trouble as well by mocking or making fun of some of their leaders. Like most people throughout time, Talchum mirrored or reflected the common people's resentment toward the upper classes. So these are the lower classes who are providing entertainment for everyone. And they would kind of demonstrate their resentment or anger toward the upper classes, the people who had more access to wealth, land, food even back then, property. And they would also use this way, the Talchum way, to express their feelings about Korea's social system. It doesn't matter where you're from, does it? Whether you're from a country with a monarchy or you're from America where we don't have kings or queens, but we still have classes. I think, the lower classes always find a way to express themselves, and it's usually by making fun of those who are considered upper class.
Yep, resentment is when you kind of feel you're being treated unfairly.
Yeah.
And yes, the common people probably thought that the rich people were just a bunch of snobs. For the same money you guys spend on expensive Cuban cigars and French wine, you could be feeding like 1,000 people who are starving right now. And so, of course, they express their resentment using this particular art form. And let's move on now to the next paragraph here. It says, the contemporary mask dance preserves its satirical components. So, of course, this art form is still very much alive, and it has come to present times. So if you talk about something that is contemporary, that means it is what's going on right now. So the contemporary mask dance, the modern mask dance, preserves its satirical components. So it's still satirical, and they probably make comments about leaders of those big chaebols or whatever they're called, or leaders in the government. They probably make fun of them all the time.
Yeah, so contemporary just means the same time. So the contemporary period of history would be right now. And if you were talking about a contemporary of yours, that person would be born in the same generation as you. So this was a contemporary mask dance that we're talking about right now. And they still kind of do the same things. So they want to preserve or keep or maintain their satirical components, the parts of the dance where they mock others and make fun of others. The masks represent various characters, and they could be nobles. Of course, nobles, if someone's a noble or nobleman, or a lady, that usually refers to them being an aristocrat of a higher social Class, scholars, of course, are those who have gone to school and have learned a lot. And ordinary people, just the common people. And each of these characters that they were trying to represent, they would have unique facial expressions and personalities. You can see by the pictures that they've already had their expressions painted on them. So it's not like they're up on the stage acting and changing their facial expressions. The mask, they just have to switch masks. The masks go off and on. So, yeah, they would represent lots of different people, and they're still doing it today.
They certainly are, and of course, we're fortunate to be able to see such performances. You'd have to go to Korea for that, although maybe some people here in Taiwan will put on a performance once in a while. And a diverse range of themes feature in the performances, including criticism of monks who neglect their principles and conflict between a married couple. So, of course, we got different themes in these performances. They feature in the performances, and these themes or ideas or general topics of these performances will include criticism of monks who neglect their principles. So if you're a monk, of course, in this particular case, you're probably in the Buddhist religion, and you've got different principles. Maybe you're supposed to be a vegetarian or something like that, or you're not supposed to have girlfriends. And if you neglect your principles, well, for example, you might actually have a steak, or you might actually have a girlfriend outside the temple. So, of course, the performance will criticize these monks who are not following their principles. Criticism just means you're saying, well, usually bad things about people. Technically, criticism is actually commenting on a work of art, but oftentimes criticism will refer to negative comments or disapproval of a particular performance or movies or books or whatever. So this is criticism of monks. Hey, you guys are supposed to be noble. You're supposed to be sincere. You're not supposed to sin.
Right. So here the criticism actually is expressing your disapproval of someone who's done something that you think is wrong, or maybe they've made a mistake and you're criticizing them. Criticize is the verb. Criticism is the noun. And if you're this kind of person by nature, you tend to make negative comments about other people. We could say you are critical. Oh, she's very critical of others. Criticism here is that they are pointing out the monks have perhaps some flaws. They aren't doing as they're supposed to. So they neglect their principles. They're not walking the talk. If you walk the talk, it means you do and you perform in your actions, your everyday life, those things that you say you uphold or believe in. And if you don't, you're just kind of a hypocrite. So they also like to use these mask dances to demonstrate conflicts between married couples. That's very common. So through humor, jokes, and exaggerated movements, Talchum delivers a powerful message that resonates with audiences of all ages. So if something's exaggerated, if it's a movement that's exaggerated, it's much bigger than it needs to be. If you are an actor or actress on stage, your movements are bigger than they would be if you were acting for a TV show or on a film. The actions are much smaller. But if you're on the stage, it has to be bigger so people in the back can see. So these are bigger movements than normal.
Exactly, and Talchum delivers powerful messages that resonate with audiences of all ages, which means people can relate to these ideas whether you're young, old, male, female, etc. Now, Talchum has been passed down through generations and is still widely enjoyed today. So if it passes down through generations, that means people performed this before and they continue to do it. They teach their children, who teach their children, who teach their children, etc., etc. So we can enjoy it today. It's still around.
That's right. So don't just stand on the sidelines. The sidelines are the area of a sports field where a coach or the extra players stand. You're not really involved or participating. So don't just, stand on the sidelines. Just get in there and really enjoy it. Let the rhythmic beats That's the rhythm and the dynamic movements of Talchum sweep you off your feet. Dynamic here just means very active, makes you want to move around. If you say someone is dynamic, there's someone who has a lot of energy. They're always on the go. They have new ideas. But here just talks about how there's a lot of motion in what you're watching.
Lots of variety. Different things are changing all the time. So indeed, this is worth checking out, and hopefully you can find a performance near you. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's listen now to our Chinese teacher.
好，接着我们来看第4题哦。第4题啊，在这一句当中，也就是第3段后面，我们看到第4题第2句这个地方。好，这第2句啊，什么样的 range of themes？ 主题是什么样的范围呢？好，在这一句先特别注意一下。Feature 这个动词把它抓出来 Feature 是主打什么样的特色，后面我们看到的是包括有一些 criticism 啦，甚至是大家的争吵啦等等的很不一样的一些主题，所以这个范围我们要选择一个各式各样的 range。 第4题根据这整句话来推测，应该是 D diverse 是比较好一些的。那到了第5题，因为我们讲到说这个 mask 其实代代相传啊，就是经过了很久，大家都还在跳这个假面舞。在最后面第4段第5题这边，其实前面有一个 pass down 本来就是传下去的意思，传下去就是父传子，子传孙，那这就是一代一代的相传，所以第5题根据这句话的文意来推测，是要用 generations B 的选项是比较好的。希望大家今天对于综合测验克漏字又有更深的了解哦。我是安娜，我们下次见。
That's all for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about traditional Korean culture and their mask dance. We hope you'll join us again soon. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.